What if you could retire in just 15 years and make $187,000 in passive tax free income every year for the rest of your life? Hi, my name is Justin Van Riper with Real Estate Investing STL, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's go ahead and get started right away. Imagine if you could retire in just 15 years, imagine making at least $187,000 per year every year in passive income for the rest of your life. Imagine having your income be 100% tax free. And imagine being able to leave your kids with a tax free income of $187,000 every year. So, how does this work? There's basically two different methods that we can use. Method one is going to be the turnkey model. This is the easy button solution. So, what you're going to do is find an already rented or rent ready property that's going to cash flow well. And I'm going to explain here in a little bit how to find these types of properties and what to look for in these properties and how to see if they're going to cash flow well. But you're going to purchase that property with a 15-year mortgage. Then you're going to purchase one property every year, each year for 15 years. And then you're just going to, repeat that process. Method two is known as the no money down method. So the method one is typically going to require a 20% down payment. So this method right here is the no money down one. This method, it takes a little bit more effort, but it's a way to purchase these properties without any of your own money in the deal. So, as I mentioned before, most traditional lenders, they're going to say that you need a 20% down payment for investment properties. In this case, for rental properties, they're going to tell you you need at least 20% down. So, what if you don't have $20,000 to $40,000 to use as a down payment? And that's just for one property. If you want to purchase, 15 or 20 or more, that down payment can really add up. So, how does this work? How are we able to kind of get around the 20% down, myth on these properties? So, what you're going to do is purchase and rehab the property with cash. And I put that in quotations because I'm going to show you some ways that you can essentially buy these with cash without it actually being money from, say a checking account. So, you can purchase and rehab them with cash, or you can use a hard money loan. So you're going to purchase and rehab them with one of these options. Then you're going to rent the property. Then you're going to refinance into long-term traditional financing. Now, since this is going to be a refinance and not a traditional purchase, a lender is no longer going to require a 20% down payment. Instead, they're going to be looking at the current value of the property. Remember, it's a big difference is that it's a refinance and not a purchase. And they're going to be looking at that current value of what the property is worth. So a long-term lender, someone that you can get a 15 or 30-year mortgage with, they will finance 75 to 80% of the new appraised value on a cash out refi. So the key here is to find properties that you can purchase and rehab for less than 75% of ARV, which is the after repair value. That's what the property is going to be worth after you fix it up. So that's the biggest component here, is that you have to be buying and rehabbing these properties for, at least a 25% discount. So what are some options that you have for doing this method two with no money down? Actual cash, of course, is king. So if you have, money in just a checking or savings account, that's going to be fantastic. That's a great way to do it. But there's other options as well. Things like a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. So if you live in a home and maybe you've lived there for, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, you likely have equity in your home. So you can always get a line of credit based on the equity that you have in your house. This also could be money in the stock market that you want to move around. It could be a self-directed IRA. So this is a vehicle where you can actually invest in real estate through a self-directed IRA. This also could be from family or friends. What are the other options for loans? If none of those are an option for you and you want to get a loan, the most common one is going to be a hard money loan. So this is just short-term financing. It typically does have high interest rates and points, so that's something to consider. But the advantage of these is that they will typically fund 100% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab. And they'll typically do this up to, say, 65 to 70% of what the property is going to be worth, the ARV, after the rehab's completed. This loan is primarily based on the value of the property. Another option is a private money loan. So the terms are more flexible and can be negotiated easier through private money than they can with a hard money loan. Sometimes, it's just a little harder to find money like that, but you may have someone that it could be family or a friend who has money that they're looking to invest, and that could be a great option for private money. So let's look at the two methods side by side, where we have the turnkey model versus the no money down model. So the turnkey one, it's the easier solution because you don't have to come up with the 20% down. Or I'm sorry, it's the easier solution, but it does require the 20% down for the turnkey model. Now, you don't have to get a hard money loan for this. You're just getting one source of financing. You're already buying it with long-term financing. You're not buying it with short-term financing, and then later on, you're going to refinance into the long-term. You're just going with long-term right off the bat. So you get to avoid hard money. You get to avoid all of the fees associated with using a hard money loan. You also don't have to worry about rehabbing a home, so that's important as well. So basically, this property, a turnkey property, will either be rent ready, so it really doesn't need any work, or maybe it might need a couple $1,000s to pass occupancy inspection, or maybe it's already rented and cash flowing. So it makes it much easier not having to rehab the home. However, that's the biggest downside to this strategy is the 20% down. So method two with the no money down, this takes more effort. It also has a longer time frame until it starts cash flowing. So when you buy the property, you're going to have to rehab it, then you're going to have to advertise it for rent before it's ever going to start cash flowing. So there's a longer time frame until you start kind of getting paid. Now, the big benefit is that you can essentially earn unlimited ROI, return on your investment, because you could have no money into the property when it's all said and done. You could have $0 of your own money into this property after you do the cash out refi. So that can be very appealing to people, and they're okay with, worrying about a rehab and not cash flowing the property for a few months because they don't have anything invested into it. So what to actually look for in these properties? So something that's really important is that the property's got a cash flow or at least break even. So the 1% rule is typically a pretty good guide. That means the rent of the property should be at least 1% of the purchase price. So if a property is selling for $150,000, it should be able to rent for at least $1,500 a month, which is 1%. You also don't want to purchase properties that are in what's called a war zone. These are very rough areas. These are class D or F neighborhoods. There's a lot of crime, and you're going to get very poor tenants. You're going to want an area that has a very good chance of appreciation. So you want this property to appreciate. And I'm going to go through an example and show you some numbers here in a second to show you why the appreciation component is very important. You also don't want, $500,000 house in a class A neighborhood because it's probably not going to cash flow. You can only get so much in rent. If you can buy a $500,000 house and still get it to cash flow, then by all means go for that, because in a class A neighborhood, you're going to have much better tenants, and you'll be able to count on appreciation of the property a little bit more, but you got to make sure it's going to be able to cash flow. So, how to also get guaranteed rent? So, Section 8 is a huge government backed organization. They help individuals with their rent payments. So, many times they'll actually pay 100% of the rental amount, and that gets paid directly to you, which is a huge bonus. So, many times they actually pay more than what a market tenant, a non Section 8 tenant, would pay. So, you get it guaranteed and it goes directly to you. And oftentimes, Section 8 is going to pay more than what a market tenant would pay. So, this strategy, this guaranteed rent, is a little more applicable for, say, a Class C area where tenants aren't quite as reliable. But you can even use it in Class B area. It's a great strategy because you're getting that guaranteed rent. I'm going to go through a quick example here. So this is a property that we sold, and this is using method one. This property was a turnkey property that was already rented. So it was rented for $1,700 a month with a Section 8 tenant, and the sales price was $130,000. And let's go ahead and just look at some rental projections on this. So we've got the yearly gross rent, which is just the monthly times 12, where you subtract management, maintenance, vacancies, taxes, insurance, the estimated mortgage payment. We subtract all of those things, and we're left with a net operating income of a little over $3,100. But there's more to it than just cash flow. There's three other ways that you're going to earn income on these properties. So you're going to get a depreciation deduction. This deduction, it's over the course of 27 and a half years, and it's based on your cost basis of the property that you own. So that's basically the cost minus the cost of the land. So your purchase and rehab minus the cost of the land gives you a depreciation deduction, a tax shelter for your taxes. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but talk to a tax professional. They'll know what the depreciation deduction is on real estate. Then you're also going to have appreciation on the property. So typically real estate appreciates, anywhere from 3 to 5%. Some years it's drastically higher than that, but we went ahead and went with 4% as a middle of the road appreciation number. So you can expect appreciation for this property. And then you're also going to have mortgage pay down. So you're going to be paying down that mortgage in year one. And remember, that mortgage pay down in year one is going to be the smallest number it's ever going to be, because you're paying a lot more interest at the beginning of the loan. As you get towards the end, you're going to be paying more principal towards it. That's just the way the amortization works on loans. So that number is actually going to get even better. That's the lowest it's ever going to be, is in year one. But when we add those three extra things in there, now all of a sudden we're at $16,725 in total income. So what does that ROI, what does that return on investment look like? So when you put down, if you're doing the turnkey method and you put 20% down payment for these properties, that would be, in this scenario, $130,000 purchase, that would be $26,000 down payment. So in the first year, remember, our total income was $16,725. So that means you simply take your total income divided by your investment, which was the $26,000 down payment, and your ROI, your return on investment, is 64%. So it's easily going to be in your retirement account, and your investment is backed by a tangible asset. Now let's go ahead and look at this exact same property. So I'm just going to pretend that we're going to do the no money down method for this, but I wanted to keep the numbers exactly the same so you could see a side-by-side comparison. So let's pretend that instead of buying it for $130,000, this property needed work. So it needed $25,000 in rehab, but because of that fact, you could buy it for a lot cheaper. You could buy it for $72,500. So you buy it for that, rehab it for $25,000, and then it's worth that same number, the $130,000. But now you're all in your purchase and rehab for 75% of ARV, of what it's worth. And then we still have the same monthly rent of $1,700 on here. So this number, all of this, these rental projections are exactly the same. So nothing's going to change here. You're still going to have all the same numbers in this example. So what does your return on investment look like for this? So remember, since you purchase and rehab this property for 75% of what it's worth, the ARV or after repair value, You could have none. You could potentially have no money of your own into this property after refinancing into that long-term financing. But just for the sake of making the ROI a little bit easier, let's say that based on the hard money fees or closing costs or whatever the case may be, you still end up having, say, just $5,000 invested into this home after you refinance. So you've got $5,000 invested, but the total income in year one was $16,725. So that means your ROI, your return on investment in this case, is 335%. So yes, this ROI is a lot higher than the turnkey model, but remember, there are disadvantages to it. You're going to have to rehab these properties, and it's going to take longer for them to actually cash flow. So it is the harder method, but it also is going to typically produce better ROI. So it's complete personal preference on, hey, do I want to just make this as easy as possible and do the easy button solution, or do I want to do a little bit more work but be into these properties for very little money out of pocket and increase my ROI? So I have buyers that do both methods, and it just completely depends on what works for you. So after all this, I started this with retiring in 15 years. So how are we going to actually do that? How are we going to retire in 15 years here? So we're going to get 15-year mortgages on these properties. So after 15 years, you're going to own this property free and clear. So at the average appreciation rate that I mentioned before of 4%, the property you purchased for $130,000 is now worth $234,000. So at this point, you can do a cash out refinance for up to 80%, 75 to 80% of what it's worth, the loan to value or LTV. So that 80% of that number, that's going to put a little over $187,000 directly into your pocket. And here's the great thing about this is that these proceeds are not taxable. So this is not income. The IRS sees this as a loan, so they're not going to tax you for it. In fact, you can even depreciate like the interest payments. So these proceeds, this massive check that you're going to be getting or wired into your bank account for $187,000, the proceeds of that are not going to be taxable. So if you buy just one property every year for 15 years, you will have a new property to refinance each year. So for that example property, that would give you over $187,000 per year every single year that is tax free. So you will get to keep this asset forever, continuing to collect your cash out refi proceeds year after year after year after year. You can even pass these investments onto your kids and grandkids after you're done using them. So imagine just being able to leave your kids with a tax-free income of $187,000 every year. And all this takes is simply buying one property every year for a 15-year period, because then you're always going to have a new property when you hit year 16, year 17, year 18. You're always going to have a new property to refinance if you get a 15-year mortgage on these. So you can literally just buy one property each year for 15 years, only own a total of 15 properties, and live the rest of your life and the rest of your kids' lives for $187,000 in passive tax-free income. And that number is going to continue to go up as time goes on as well, because the property is going to continue to appreciate. So I wanted to give a few examples of, some clients we worked with. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I have so many of these examples. I didn't want to put, more than a handful in here, because I could go on for days and days about people we've worked with and the properties that they have worked. But we've got Yulana, who purchased a property from us for $61,000 that had already passed occupancy inspection. So that means it needed absolutely no work. You basically just have to place a tenant and start collecting checks when it's already passed occupancy inspection. So she bought it for $61,000. That had an estimated rent of $1,100 a month. So that is incredible cash flow on a turnkey property. and she purchased this property within just a few weeks of working with us. We also had Juan, who was looking for a property that he could get into for no money out of pocket. He wanted to go for the no money down strategy. So we were able to get him a home that he bought for only $33,000. And the property was going to be worth $120,000 after renovations. He put about $45,000 of rehab into the house, and he's able to refinance into long-term fixed financing and get all of his money back. So now he has a home that's going to provide him income for many years, all of this without any of his own money into the deal. We also have Marlon, who purchased a property from us for $89,000. That was just rehabbed very nicely. This was a nice rehab on this. So it was rent ready to go, and had an estimated rent of $1,200, and that also gave him excellent ROI, excellent cash flow on this rental. Scott bought another turnkey property from us, and it had, once again, also passed occupancy already, so it really didn't need any work. He bought it for $90,000, but it was actually worth $130,000. So even though it was a turnkey property, he was still able to buy it at a very large discount. He was also able to bring in, that property was projected to rent out for $1,400 a month. So not only was he able to buy it at a discount, but he also was going to get excellent cash flow on this property. I also have Reggie, who bought a property from us that had an ARV, an after repair value of $160,000 for only $57,000. Now this property needed about $50,000 in rehab, but Reggie was able to purchase and rehab this home for only 67% of what it was worth. He was able to do a cash out refinance after the rehab and get all of his money out of the property. He was left with excellent cash flowing home that he had no money of his own invested into it. We also had Jen, who bought a turnkey property from us. She purchased it for only $75,000, and we actually had a tenant moving in for $1,100 a month. She's still getting tremendous cash flow and ROI on this property to this day. Leah purchased a property from us for $75,000 with no money out of pocket after refinancing. The property was worth $130,000, and it took less than $20,000 in rehab, leaving her with great equity and none of her own money into the deal. After renting it out for $1,250 a month, she started receiving excellent cash flow as her mortgage payments were way less than this. So this is going to be a great rental property for years to come. So you guys might be thinking like, hey, this all sounds great. It sounds great in theory. I love it. But how am I going to actually implement this strategy? So that's where we come in, and we can help out with this. So what we'll provide is a millionaire roadmap. This is really cool. This is sitting down with you one-on-one and going over a strategy, creating a roadmap, creating a strategy to get you to exactly where your goals are. So we'll dive in and we'll figure out, hey, what are your goals? When would you like to retire? How much are you looking to make each year in retirement? Are you looking to make any money right now, or are you okay with just waiting 15 years? Every person is different, so we individualize these millionaire roadmaps to set you up for success so that you have a tangible plan in place that you can look at every single day and continue to work towards. It can be a great motivating tool, and it's a really exciting thing to sit down and map this whole thing out. So we'll actually work with you one-on-one and build out this millionaire roadmap. Also, we're going to provide you with excellent deals on properties. We know how to analyze these properties extremely well. We also know how to find these properties. So most of our properties are off-market deals. So, the public doesn't have access to these. Whenever they're listed on the MLS, there's a lot of competition, but most of our deals are off-market, and they're through our network that we've built over the course of 13 years. We can provide you with excellent deals on these properties and help you analyze them. You also get guaranteed appraisal amounts. So if you're, say, doing the no money down strategy, you're getting a hard money loan, and there's going to be an ARV appraisal, so an appraisal based on the value that it's going to be worth. If I give you a number and say $150,000, we guarantee that it's going to appraise for at least $150,000, or you don't have to purchase the property if it came back less. We're very good at running comps. We know what appraisers look at, and we give very accurate numbers. You You also get my Rolodex of contacts. So that's referrals for anything that you might possibly need. That could be lenders, it could be property managers, it could be contractors, whatever you need. You have access to my contacts, the ones that it's taken me 13 years to build up. You also get VIP access to the deals. So we do have a much larger buyers list that we send our properties out to. But if you're working directly with us, you'll get VIP access. You'll get first access to these deals. And many times these deals sell before they get to our main list. They simply sell to our VIP buyers. So that's a big bonus right there as well. You also get access to business capital funding. So this is funding that you can basically use for whatever you want. Remember that I mentioned if you're getting a hard money loan, there are going to be costs associated with that. There are points. There's going to be appraisal fee. There's going to be closing costs. There's going to be monthly payments. There's fees that with a hard money loan. So sometimes it can be helpful to have additional funding. And this funding is not applied to any specific property. It's not tied up to a property. This is simply money that gets deposited directly into your bank account, and then you can do whatever you please with it. Obviously, I recommend using it for, investing in real estate, but you can use it for anything that you want. But we can get you funding anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000 if you meet the minimum requirements, which I'm actually going to get to in a second, but we can get you business capital funding as well. So imagine if you had an experienced investor in your corner, a trusted person who could help you find great deals, analyze the properties, give referrals, and be there with you every step of the way. So what are the requirements for working with us? So unfortunately, it's not for everyone with this model. You must have at least a 620 credit score and be able to show at least $35,000 a year in income. This strategy, it works for W-2 employees and self-employed individuals. Doesn't matter. It works for both. So if you have $35,000 in a year, that if you make $35,000 in a year and you can show that you have, tax returns and whatnot that prove that, it doesn't matter if you're W-2 or self-employed. We can work with you. So 620 credit score at least $35K a year. You also must be willing to invest in the St. Louis market. And the reason behind that is that's where all of our contacts are. That's where we get all of our deals. We have access to a crazy amount of very good off-market properties in the St. Louis area. That's where our whole network is. That's where, contractors and property management, we're really good at working and operating in the St. Louis market. And a big advantage too is that here in St. Louis, we can provide some of the best returns in the entire country here. So you saw the example that we gave where you could buy a property for $130,000 that's already rented for $1,700 a month. You're not going to get that rent to price ratio in very many markets in the whole U.S. For some of them, it might be $1,700 rent. You have to pay double that. You might have to pay $260 instead of $130 for that same property. So we can get some insane returns here in the St. Louis market. And we have a ton of experience working with out-of-state investors. So if you're not local, that's completely fine. We've done this many, many, many times. In fact, those examples that I gave you previously of clients that we've worked with, about half of them or maybe more were actually not local to the St. Louis market. So we've got referrals. It's okay if you're not local. It doesn't matter. We can still help you out. And then finally, you just can't be a jerk. We're going to be working with you one-on-one. And so, we want to work with people that we like. So can't be a jerk. So the way that I see it right now is that you have three options essentially. You can, take all this info and you can, do nothing. So if you're happy with where you're at, you feel very confident in your retirement plan, you're already making a lot of passive income, then, you can do nothing with this. The second option is that you can do it yourself. So you can take everything that you learned here and you can try to implement it yourself. You obviously still need to find lenders, you need to find contractors, you need to find property management, you need to find properties, you need to find sources of off-market, properties, and then you're going to have to do everything yourself throughout the whole process. So obviously there's going to be no hand-holding there, so you can always just do it yourself. The third option is that you can work with us and fast track your success. So just want you to think about it and which option is going to move you closer to achieving your goals faster and easier. Would it be working with us, 13 years of experience, who have worked with a ton of investors before, or taking this and trying to do it, yourself? You can answer the question, on your own, but just think about which option is going to move you closer to your goals. So next steps: if you meet the requirements, a 620 credit score and at least 35K in income. If you meet those requirements, then we can help you get started ASAP. Remember, some people, from the first call that I have with them, we're already under contract for them to purchase a property within as little as like 5 days, and then we close a couple of weeks later. I've done that many times before. So this can all move very quickly. We can get you started so fast. If you're really excited about being able to retire in only 15 years, if you're excited about creating that source of passive tax-free income, we can get you started very quickly. So if you meet these requirements, just go ahead and text 15-year retirement to 314-470-1917. So text that 15-year retirement to 314-470-1917, and we can always schedule a time to jump on a quick call. So a quick summary here: you can retire in just 15 years. You can make $187,000 in passive tax-free money every year for the rest of your life. And keep in mind, this is just with purchasing only one property per year. If you want to, double or triple these efforts, let's say you wanted to purchase just 3 properties each year. So you just buy one property a quarter, nothing too crazy, but you buy one property every 4 months and you buy 3 properties per year. That $187,000 number, you can triple it. So it's completely up to you on how you want to do it. But this is with only purchasing one property per year. That number can go up drastically if you want to purchase more properties. You can also provide your kids or even grandkids with an excellent source of income for the rest of their lives, and it's tax-free passive money. We also are going to be able to provide everything that you need, the great deals on properties, lenders, property management, contractors, anything that you need, we can help. And I'm going to go ahead and just put this back up here one more time on next steps. So if you want to get started, then go ahead and text 15-year retirement to 314-470-1917. Text that in, and then we can always schedule a time to jump on a quick call to answer any questions that you might have. But thank you guys very much for listening to this. I hope this opened up your eyes to a very, very cool strategy. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I want to make that clear. This is a method that's going to take some time, but it's been proven over and over and over again, and it's going to set you up in a great position in 15 years from now. So if you're interested, text 15-year retirement to that number, 314-470-1917. Thank you guys.